Have you ever experienced being drenched in your own sweat after sprinting up the stairs to the fourth floor where your classroom is? Or are you annoyed by how your hands turned ice cold while waiting for your teacher to call your name in an oral exam? How about remembering a moment with your crush and you feel your heart beating so loudly? These are caused by your hormones. Hormones that are products of the exocrine and endocrine system to maintain homeostasis. First off, endocrine comes from the ancient Greek words endo, which means inside or internal, and ekrono, which means to secrete. The endocrine system is similar to your nervous system, which is also constantly trafficking around your body, gathering intel, making demands, and controlling your every move. But they have totally different ways of doing it. Your nervous system uses lightning-fast electrochemical action potentials, delivered by an expressway of neurons to specific cells and organs. Your endocrine system, however, prefers a slower pace. It secretes hormones that travel through your blood, not through neurons. So they move more slowly, but they also produce widespread effects that last a whole lot longer than action potentials by the nervous system. Hormones are chemical molecules that aid in controlling metabolism and also serves as chemical messengers. They are very essential in maintaining homeostasis. Now, I have mentioned homeostasis before, so you're probably wondering what is homeostasis? Well, homeostasis is the ability to maintain a constant internal environment in response to environmental change. It is a unifying principle of biology. One example of outbalance in your homeostasis is when you've eaten, let's say, a pie. The pie is so sweet and delicious. You've eaten so much of it. Your body would have too much sugar. So, in order to maintain homeostasis, your pancreas and endocrine gland would secrete hormones to lower your blood sugar. If the situation is opposite, say you haven't eaten anything for hours, you would have very low blood sugar level in your body and your pancreas once again would produce hormones that would trigger the release of glucose from your cell storage back into the blood. Now, compared to your heart or brain or glamorous other organs, your endocrine system's organs are kinda small and lumpy. And instead of being nestled together like in your other organ systems, these little ones are scattered all over the place, from your brain to your throat, to your kidneys, to your genitals. A gland is any structure that makes and secretes a hormone. The major glands of the endocrine system are the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, thyroid gland, parathyroids, adrenal glands, pineal body, pancreas, and reproductive organ. The hypothalamus is located in the lower central part of the brain. This part of the brain is important in regulation of satiety, metabolism, and body temperature. In addition, it secretes hormones that stimulate or suppress the release of hormones in the pituitary gland. Many of these hormones are releasing hormones, which are secreted into an artery that carries them directly to the pituitary gland. In the pituitary gland, these releasing hormones signal secretion of stimulating hormones. The hypothalamus also secretes a hormone called somatostatin, which causes the pituitary gland to stop the release of growth hormone. The pituitary gland is located at the base of the brain, beneath the hypothalamus, and is no larger than a pea. This is the master gland in your body which produces many hormones that signal other glands, like the thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, and pineal glands, to make their own hormones. When the pituitary gland does not produce one or more of its hormones or not enough of them, it is called hypopituitarism. The pituitary gland is divided into two parts. the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. The posterior pituitary is, in effect, a projection of the hypothalamus. It does not produce its own hormones, but only stores and releases the hormones created by the hypothalamus, whereas the anterior pituitary produces and secretes its own hormones, like growth hormone or GH. The hormones secreted by the posterior pituitary are actually produced in the brain and carried to the pituitary gland through nerves. They are stored in the pituitary gland. The thyroid gland is located in the lower front part of the neck. It produces thyroid hormones that regulate the body's metabolism. It also plays a role in bone growth and development of the brain and nervous system in children. The pituitary gland controls the release of thyroid hormones. Thyroid hormones also help maintain normal blood pressure, heart rate, digestion, muscle tone, and reproductive functions. The parathyroid glands are two pairs of small glands embedded in the surface of the thyroid gland, one pair on each side. They release parathyroid hormone, which plays a role in regulating calcium levels in the blood and bone metabolism. The two adrenal glands are triangular-shaped glands located on top of each kidney. The adrenal glands are made up of two parts. The outer part is called the adrenal cortex, and the inner part is called the adrenal medulla. The outer part produces hormones called corticosteroids, which regulate the body's metabolism, the balance of salt and water in the body, the immune system, and sexual function. The inner part, or adrenal medulla, produces hormones called catecholamines. For example, adrenaline. These hormones help the body cope with physical and emotional stress by increasing the heart rate and blood pressure. The pineal body or pineal gland is located in the middle of the brain. It secretes a hormone called melatonin, which may help regulate the wake-sleep cycle of the body. The pancreas is an elongated organ located toward the back of the abdomen behind the stomach. The pancreas has digestive and hormonal functions. One part of the pancreas, the exocrine pancreas, secretes digestive enzymes. The other part of the pancreas, the endocrine pancreas, secretes hormones called insulin and glucagon. These hormones regulate the level of glucose in the blood. Lastly, the reproductive glands are the main source of sex hormones. In males, the testes, located in the scrotum, secrete hormones called androgens, the most important of which is testosterone. These hormones affect many male characteristics. For example, sexual development, growth of facial hair and pubic hair, as well as sperm production. In females, the ovaries, located on both sides of the uterus, produce estrogen and progesterone, as well as eggs. These hormones control the development of female characteristics, for example, breast growth, and they are also involved in reproductive functions, for example, menstruation and pregnancy. Thanks to these glands and organs, you've got all these hormones diffusing through your blood, doing all sorts of different things. But the thing to remember about them is that a hormone can only trigger a reaction in specific cells. They are so-called target cells that have the right receptors for it. So like some keys can open many locks, while others only work with one. So too can the hormone target cell relationship either be widespread or localized. As an example for that, your thyroid at the bottom of your throat produces the hormone thyroxine, which stimulates metabolism and binds the receptors in most of the cells in your body. But your pituitary, which is nestled all comfy under your brain, produces follicle stimulating hormones, which helps regulate growth and triggers sexual maturity. And it only targets specific cells in the ovaries and testes. So, how do hormones bind to their target cells? Well, chemically, most hormones are either made of amino acids, including their more complex structures like peptides or proteins, or they're derived from lipids like cholesterol. And this is key because a hormone's chemical structure determines if it's water soluble, like most amino acids, or lipid soluble, like steroids are. And it is important because cell membranes are made of lipids, so water-soluble ones can get across them. So, target cells for those hormone types have receptors for them on the outside of their membranes. While on the other hand, lipid soluble can just enter through the membrane, so the target cell's receptors are inside the cell. Either way, when a target cell is activated, the hormone changes its activity by either increasing or decreasing some of its functions. The example for this is just like the earlier example. You've eaten too much sweets, resulting in too much sugar in your body, throwing your homeostasis off balance. So, in order to maintain your homeostasis, your pancreas and endocrine gland would secrete hormones called insulin to lower your blood sugar. And if you haven't eaten anything for hours, resulting to very low blood sugar, your pancreas would produce a different hormone called glucagon that would decrease the cell storage of sugar in your cells. Therefore, triggers the release of glucose back into the blood. Hormonal imbalance are endocrine disorders that happen when there is too much, which is hyper, or too little, which is hypo, specific hormones in the body. Another category of endocrine disorders are due to the development of lesions, such as nodules or tumors in the endocrine system, which may or may not affect hormone levels. One example is hyperthyroidism, or also known as Graves' disease. It happens when the thyroid gland produces too much hormones, resulting to weight loss, fast heart rate, sweating, and nervousness. It could sometimes be caused by antibodies mimicking the hormones of the pituitary gland, hijacking the negative feedback so that the thyroid would not stop producing hormones even if the hypothalamus and pituitary had already told to stop it. Another example of overactive gland is the Cushing's disease, which the overproduction of a pituitary gland hormone leading to an overactive adrenal gland. Gigantism or acromegaly and other growth hormone problems also happens when the pituitary gland produces too much growth hormone that a child's bone and body parts grow abnormally fast. Polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS, is overproduction of androgens interfere with egg cell development and their release from female ovaries, making this disorder a leading cause of infertility. Multiple endocrine neoplasia 1 and 2, men 1 and men 2, which are rare genetic conditions that are passed down through families, cause tumors of the parathyroid, adrenal, and thyroid glands, leading to overproduction of hormones. In the cases of too little production of hormones, adrenal insufficiency is when the adrenal gland releases too little of the hormone cortisol and sometimes aldosterone, leading to fatigue, upset stomach, dehydration, and skin changes. Hypothyroidism is the opposite of hyperthyroidism, where the thyroid gland does not produce enough thyroid hormone, causing fatigue, constipation, dry skin, and depression, and also cause slowed development in children. There are a wide range of treatment options for endocrine disorders because diseases of the endocrine system vary widely in both type and severity. In some cases, The resulting hormone imbalance may be mild enough to go to unnoticed and not require treatment. Treatment for endocrine disorders generally fall into two categories. One of these is medication. If there is too much or too little of a certain hormone in the body, synthetic hormones may be administered to correct the imbalance and reduce symptoms. Chemotherapy may also be used to treat patients with cancer of an endocrine gland. The other category is surgery, where in some cases, such as with cancerous and non-cancerous tumors on an endocrine gland, surgery and/or radiation therapy may be necessary. After the underlying problem has been resolved, hormone production should return to normal. Overall, the endocrine gland is very essential in our body. It's responsible from temperature regulation until growth development. Knowing the purpose of our endocrine system help us understand and realize that in life, balance is key, and that we should also take care of our body as we always have.